Justin, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
What's up, brother?
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How you been?
It's been a slow motion day for me. Just I didn't have work today. It's a holiday for us, so it was just stay home, clean up, get everything prepared. You know what I mean? Take advantage of my little time off. Doesn't come
Okay,
too often.
right on. So you get so if the holiday lands on a weekend, you get the day before that off.
Yeah, or if it was on a Sunday, we would get the Monday off.
Oh, right on. So you got a 3-day holiday right now.
Yeah. I was thinking about coming down to Fresno, but I
Oh,
got
what happened? We could be
it.
chilling. We'll be doing
Yeah,
this live. Well, it is
you know
live,
how
but
you know how hot it is down there.
it's pretty high. It's pretty
Up
high.
there, it's hot up there. But no, I got other stuff I got to take care of. It could be more uh, to my advantage just to use my time here this weekend.
Right
But
on.
but soon, you know what? I will come down there, man. We'll meet up.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking about when you mentioned about being a tattoo artist. Do you have like your own kit at home that you do, or do you have a shop that you work at?
Yeah, no, I do everything right here at my house. Um, yeah, I was actually doing some tattoos last night, man. I wanted my little
Okay.
buddy. Yeah, man, he wanted to get Kimberly is his aunt's name. So
Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking about hitting you up because I have some cover-ups I want to do, and
yeah.
anything to cover it is better than what is already there. So you can't mess up. Even your mess up will be better than what I want to see on my body. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I got you.
yeah,
I got
love to
you.
work with you sometimes, man.
Yep.
Yeah. Back to I when you're mentioning about Katie and gosh, what's his name, Charlie?
Yeah.
When we're having that conversation, because I got a lot of things going on in my head. I'm trying to conduct the podcast, and then I'm thinking about who the people he's thinking about, and it totally went over my head, and I started thinking about, wait a minute, I think he meant Katie, like my cousin Katie,
Oh,
and
so
her.
that's your cousin too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
we're
know they're
all
all related.
we're all first cousins. So Katie's dad, and Gary's mom and my dad are siblings.
Oh, dang. Then
Yeah,
you're close, man.
yeah, we're tight.
Then we're basically family.
There you
Yeah,
go. Yeah, because I
we're
remember.
in-laws.
Yeah, there you go. I know when they had like their family get together like a few years ago, they hired
Yeah.
me to be the photographer over there, out there in their. It was like way in the boonies in Fresno, dude. It was pretty cool, man. I had a good time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what's up.
they know have a good time.
Man, well, I haven't seen well, Katie and Charlie, they moved out there to Utah a while back, and I haven't had a chance to go see them yet in a while. I don't even know where Gary's at. I don't know if he's in the Bay Area or back in Fresno. I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
I think he's back in the Bay. He was here for a little bit. He was here for a little bit. Now he's back in the Bay, and I think he's doing good. I got a message him, just check on him. Just thank for
Yeah,
him hooking us up, man. I really appreciate our talk last time. I'm looking forward to hearing your story. We didn't get an opportunity to capture it, but I think that's one of the things God has put into my heart is like this podcast. It's a way of reaching out to people. It's a form of ministry or apologetics or evangelism, whatever you want to call it. We're just trying to put out the word out there, and hopefully it'll help some people. So we'll let God do the rest. We're just gonna do this. But
hey, that's interesting, real quick, because one thing like I didn't really understand it so much back then, but I'm really starting to believe in the process, man. Like there's definitely levels to where God has you at, and one of the amazing things is like He's working on things behind the scenes that we don't even recognize, that we don't even know about, but like it's growing behind the scenes, and when it's the proper time, it's gonna manifest itself in our lives. And one example of that is because you know what's so crazy is that I've actually been very interested in it's like starting a channel or doing a podcast, like using social media as a platform to do essentially the same thing that you're doing, and I've been finding myself in different places gathering tools that would make um, that would make me a more efficient tool. Like I started getting involved with this. Have you ever heard of Toastmasters? It's like a
yeah,
public speaking. Man, I
yeah,
started going to a Toastmasters group, like probably about 6 months ago. I haven't been so
Okay.
consistent with it, but already I've done like my first speech, and like there just in a few courses that I've actually like, or classes that I've attended, it's been extremely growthful. You know what I mean? Just full of nurturance or nurturing environment. You know what I'm saying? To like prepare you to be able to speak correctly, speak where you could communicate with different crowds, have that body language to follow along with you. And so, and then I've been meeting people. This is actually my second podcast, man, that I've been blessed to be a part of. And my buddy Tony Hoffman, he's actually from Clovis, man. I did a podcast with him back in like getting into the new year, and I mean, it was just it was very similar, man. It was super cool, man. And I've been seeing all these things take place with people that you never thought it would grow from. You know what I mean? And so you just know God's in the middle of it, making things happen. I just wanted to mention that real quick.
Yeah, I like everything you're saying. It's true. He'll put you places that like I feel like this job I'm doing with the call center. So my 9 to 5, how I eat, I um I work at a call center and now I'm at home, but I take calls for I can't mention the name, but they're Verizon customers,
Yeah.
and it's allowed me to learn to listen. It's allowed me to do a lot of things on the fly. How do you troubleshoot, think, connect, problem solve? It's like all these things going on, and it's hard at first, but then after a while, you kind of get in the groove, and now I feel like I could do this with my eyes closed, and and not only that, just not just the skill of troubleshooting, but the ability to connect with people and talk and actually learn to listen, because there's a lot of people on these calls that they don't do this professionally like I do, and they don't know how to talk, so they'll interrupt you and they'll keep interrupting, and in the very first, you get frustrated because no one likes to be interrupted. But as you get along, you're just learning that okay, they're on their own, they're on their own lane right now, and it's
Yeah.
your goal to allow that to, like, just be patient with that as much as you can, because sometimes, man, you're just like, dude, just shut up, man. You interrupt me like 1,000 times in the last minute. I can't even get the word out. And you learn through that, and it's taught me how to listen, and how to actually, articulate my thoughts, because you do have to communicate to people you can't see. And sometimes it's like, okay, close your eyes. I'll give you an exercise. Close your eyes. Try this. And it's just. I'm sorry. I was giving an example.
I was gonna ride with it, man. I was
I
gonna ride with
know.
it.
And it's taught me to just think outside the box. And right to what you're saying is, like, I feel like he's always preparing us for that next moment, and us, connecting. It's part of that journey, bro. So I'm glad that we're on it together, man. Yeah,
Heck
thanks for
yeah.
being on the podcast again.
Yeah. My pleasure, man. My pleasure.
Yeah, want to, we didn't have an opportunity to get into, we could dive into it. We could talk about something else. I mean, we had a lot of stuff that we didn't even get into, like, other stuff, like, man, I do love skateboarding, so we didn't really get in deep into that. But
Yeah.
but this podcast is to do that. I feel like the other day yesterday I was driving to a ministry that I go to called Celebrate Recovery. It's for
Mhm.
people. I don't know if you heard of it.
I
Celebrate
love
Recovery.
Celebrate Recovery.
Okay,
Oh, I got a
cool.
story for you about that. But go
Oh,
ahead.
I want to hear it too. So I'm going to CR last night, and in my head, I'm thinking about the podcast, and all of a sudden on the radio on Kayla, she's like, talking about podcasts. I'm like, okay, and that's how the Lord does that. A lot of times I'm thinking about
Yeah.
something, and it'll be on the radio what they're talking about, and it's like, okay, I guess I'm going the right way. Like, this is
Yeah.
what you should be doing. Stick to your podcast. Learn about apologetics, and I'm just like, all right, I get the memo. Yeah, back to your amazing story at CR. I mean, yeah, it's changed my
Oh
life,
man.
man. But yeah, back.
Uh
Go ahead.
okay, so man, I mean this is so deep, bro. This is like its own little story, man. This all right. Well,
But we got to
I'm
get
a,
your. We got to get your. We
yeah,
got to get
we
your.
gotta go back. We gotta rewind real quick. I really want to hit that because I think you're gonna really dig it. I think the listeners, man, they're gonna really be
Yeah.
fed by
Right.
it.
How did you
So you
come to
want to
Christ? How did you come
okay,
to
man.
Christ?
All right. So here we go. We're gonna get it started right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, right. And then we go into CR, because I feel like if we don't do it now, I'm gonna miss out, because we're
Hey,
gonna talking about. My mind
it,
goes crazy. I'm gonna be thinking about 10,000 things, and then we're gonna run out of time. I'm like, we got to do it again.
all right. Well, look, I'm good till like probably around like 7. So I don't know. We
You
got
got
time if
two
you need it.
hours. All right, we got an hour. No, we got an hour and 20 minutes. Okay. We don't
All
have to
right.
get
So
into it now. We could do like maybe 30 minutes of just hanging out and talking about other stuff and getting you warmed up. But yeah, I definitely want to get your salvation story in there, dude, because it's gonna inspire a lot of people. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. All right, man. Well, hey, I'll just jump right into it, man. I'm gonna
Okay.
just jump right into it. Um, all right. So like for me, the 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 true impact, like the true moment that I believe. I mean, I know it was already in the works way before this time, but when I was about 18 years old, this was 2008. I was in a CYA. I was in California Youth Authority, and I was doing like I was a mess up, bro. I was fighting. I was into all the gambling. I was just a wrecking ball inside of CYA, and I was that was probably the time, man, that I was like most depressed, most like angry, like lost. I had no peace. You know what I mean? Like I just wasn't happy, man. I was struggling at that time, my late teens, and I was big time in the gangs, man. That was like uh, where, if you look at me, that was, oh yeah, that dude's gang related for sure. So um, when I was in CYA, man, I just remember always going to sleep at night, not liking how I'm living my life, not liking the choices, and which led me, man, to just exploring all kinds of different avenues. But the deepest desire in my heart was just to be happy. You know what I mean? Like that was all. That's what I felt like I really wanted more than anything. And I thought that by going these shortcut ways, I would attain it. But it was never long lasting. It was never fruitful. So I'm just getting in trouble, and then one day I'm in the lockup program. It's called SMP, Special Modified Program, and it's in the Ironwood Lodge, and that's like that's like the shoe, you know what I mean, or like for CYA, and
Wait a minute. You said the shoe?
yeah, that's segregated, like that's like the hole, you know what I mean, like when you
Oh, okay. Okay. It's the whole.
yeah,
Okay. Got it.
this
Got
is
it.
the hole, you know what I mean. You're separated from everybody. You're in your single cell, because normal living, you're in these like 60-man dorms, you know what I mean, and that's like the normal general population. But if you're fighting and getting in trouble, then you go to the hole. So like I said, that was me. I was fighting and doing the nonsense. Now I'm in the hole, man, and every time you go to the hole, it's just like you got nothing. You got like a book, you got, just a cell, and you got people yelling. I mean, it's just a whole nother environment. So it's hostile in there too. You're getting your food from the slots. You're it's all bad. Now, but it gives you a lot of time to think. It gives you time, and it gives you time to like really think, like to really get lost in your mind and to dig deep and explore. And so I remember one day, it might have been a Thursday, but I remember I heard somebody outside in the hallway talking, like it was an inmate and someone else. And I remember hearing them talking about like biblical stuff. And so I jumped up out of my bed and I like walked to the door and I was creeping out the side, and I could see that it was a volunteer. Like sometimes they have volunteers that would come in from the streets and kind of just minister to inmates however they did. And
Right.
so this volunteer, he was over here talking, and he had finished up and he was walking past my door, and I stopped him real quick. I was like, "Hey, excuse me, sir." I knocked on the door and he's all like, "Yeah, yeah, what's going on?" And I said, "Hey, by chance, do you have a daily bread? Are you familiar with the daily breads? Like the
The
little daily
Yeah, the little
devotionals?"
booklet. Like it's a
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I heard about it, but I don't think I've seen it before.
Okay. So the daily breads, they always had like stacks of them. Like every place incarceration I've been, they've always had them somewhere. You can get them, and every like for 3 months at a time, it'd have a devotional for that specific day. And and I read them in like a superstitious type of way. Like if it says something cool or interesting that day, cool, you know what I mean? But I kept it like a calendar. I put notes in it and stuff. But I just wanted one of those. And so when I asked this guy for one, he goes, "You know what? I don't have one right now, but I'll bring you one next week. And I instantly, like, just instantly wrote him off. Like, whatever, you're lying. Like, you're gonna forget about me. Like, I instantly just judged this dude hardcore.
Yeah.
Like instantly, you know what I mean? Like, and I guess, like, now looking back, that probably has to do with just how I didn't have confidence in people. You know what I mean? Like I didn't have confidence like that for people to do things for me, I guess you could say. And so, but this is the crazy thing, right? Is that a week later, I'm the one that forgot, and this guy comes knocking on my door, like around the same time, and he goes, "Hey, I got you this daily bread," and he slid it under my door, and I instantly felt bad. Like, I instantly, because I knew, like, I wrote him out. I'm the one who forgot. You know what I mean? This guy didn't forget about me. And so, and I knew that I didn't have any grounds to even have those thoughts about this guy who I didn't even know. He could have been the most person full with the most integrity in the world. You know what I mean? Like, he could have just really been the most person about his word. And I threw that on him without no reason at all. And so I felt bad. You know what I mean? I felt bad. That was the first thing I noticed now looking back, is I felt bad. And he talked to me for a little bit. His name was Ken Griffin. And he was like doing some type of journalism stuff for, it was like Soldiers of Christ. It was a pamphlet. I didn't even get involved with the pamphlet, but just that little part of the story matters a lot, like on how I acquired this daily bread. And so, anyways, it kind of, that's probably like maybe one of the last times I see him, once he gives me the daily bread. And but I have this daily bread now, and I'm reading the daily bread, and not too long after I have this material, one of the sergeants in the lodge I was working at, he I don't know why, but he actually like came up to my door and he gave me a picture Bible. It was the entire Bible from Genesis to Revelations and comics. Like, it was a big old thing, but it was in comics. And it didn't have every story, but it broke down a lot of the stories, like a lot, like very detailed. But it was all played out in comics, like in a familiar language, you know what I mean? Like, on how, if it was going down these days. So, so what's crazy is you're in this cell, and now I have the daily bread and I have this picture Bible, which is the comic, and I got nothing else to do, and I just start going through the comic. And one thing that's actually taking place is, as I'm reading these daily breads now, like, you know, just on each day I'm reading it, like, I hear all these promises, I hear all these positive, like, hopeful thoughts that, you know, this God has for us or for his people. And deep in my heart, like, you know, like, that's what I wanted, you know what I mean? Like, I really want that, you know what I mean? Like, but I ain't seen that yet, you know what I mean? And so, so I always wanted that. And then as I'm reading this book, you know, I'm reading through the story of Joseph. I'm reading through just Moses, and just all these different, like, people and the process that they're going through and how they're getting shaped and how God's messing with them, and the relationship between them and David, Samson, like all these stories, man, Esther. And I'm like, I'm getting emotionally attached to this book now, like to these characters. And I remember myself getting like really, really frustrated at during the Exodus, like when these people kept doubting Moses. Like, I was getting mad, like, what are you thinking? Like, you didn't just see what God did for you right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm getting like emotional with this book. And like, you know, sooner or later, like, I find myself like, cause I'm so now, like, after I read the book, and like, I read the entire thing probably like a week. And, but I remember just getting to Jesus and getting to all these other stories, like into the New Testament, and just like a hunger, man, like man, like wanting that in my life, you know, wanting that Jesus, that God that's in this book doing these things to people. Like, I'm like, man, I'm dying for that. Like, I'm dying for a savior, you know what I mean? Like, I'm dying for that. And so that was what was boiling in my heart. And so this is the incredible, oh my gosh, I still look at this in amazement. So here's a little backstory with the daily bread. Is the daily breads, there's, and I hope my information is still accurate, because this is, I've held on to this information since the time it was true back then. that's been about 10 years, is that the Daily Breads consist of like multiple authors, say like 20 different authors that live all around the world. And they just basically, they all write devotionals, and they, to my understanding, they probably send them into a central spot. They edit it, put them in on dates, and then they send them out every quarter of the year. And that's how the Daily Breads get distributed. Well, one morning in the hole, and now at this time, like this is probably maybe like a few weeks after I've had my daily bread and the Bible, and now I finished the comic Bible and I got into like a New King James, like version, like the actual, because now I'm like, let me see what the book has to say now since I read the comics, and it got even more detailed and I got more hungry for it. And but now this morning I'm reading the Daily Bread, and you know what? I remember being stuck on the authorship, because on the bottom of each devotional, it would have an authorship on who wrote that passage or that devotional for that day. And like I said, it, like in one quarter, there might be like 10 different authors. Well, that devotional, I remember looking at the authorship, and they said Marvin L. Williams. And I couldn't, like, I don't know, I just couldn't get past that name. Like, it's like one of those names that you know someone with that name, or there's something that sticks out about the name, you just can't get past it. And it was one of those situations, and I couldn't put two and two together. And then I was waiting to be taken out of my cell to go shower. And next thing you know, they're handcuffing me, because we're in the hole, it's top high security status right here. And so they handcuffed me, and I'm walking to the shower. And then as I'm walking, it hits me. Boom. There's an officer, like a CO, named Marvin Williams, that he worked on the lodge that I was living at, the lockup lodge. He worked in that lodge, and he was there that day, and he was working that shift. And I was about to walk past him to go shower. He was working right there at the shower. And like, it clicked on me right then and there, like, oh, Playa. Like, cause we called him Playa.
Okay.
And he's a black dude. He was an older black dude, like super cool. Like, he was super cool with everybody and real chill. And he had Jerry curls, you know what I mean? This dude was cool, man. And but I remember, I was like, that's Playa's name. So I walked by Playa, and I said, hey, and I was only thinking in my head, like, maybe he's seen his name, you know what I mean? Maybe he's seen his name like on the Daily Breads or something. So I'm walking by, and I'm like, hey, Playa. I'm like, hey, by any chance, do you read the Daily Breads? And he like looks at me, right? He looks at me, he goes, I write those. And I'm like, what? Like, instantly,
Whoa.
my mind like just blown, like just something just happened here, you know what I mean? And
Whoa.
and I knew, like, without a fraction of a doubt, that this man has something to tell me, or like something had to do with this man, because now at this point, I'm like really building up steam, you know what I mean, for the word. I mean, like, the desires there, like I'm putting my time. I'm like, I got like Miracle Girl in the Bible, bro. I'm just like soaking it up all the time myself. And so I'm like, there's something you got to tell me, man. Like, and he's not like, he doesn't know what's going on. You know what I mean? Like, he's just like, oh, what? Like, yeah, I write those. And so I shower real quick, and I hurry up and get out of the shower, and I go back to my cell, and I tell him, I'm like, hey, you need to come down. Before I get back to my cell, I'm like, hey, come talk to me. He's like, all right, yeah, I'll be down in a bit. So it's taking too long. You know what I mean? It's probably like 5 minutes. It's taking too long. This dude needs to come down and see me. Like, I ain't even playing. Like, you know what I mean? So I start banging on my door, like, with my feet. Boom, 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 boom. I'm on my back. And I'm making loud noise, you know? And so a different officer, he comes to my door, and he goes, Sullivan, what's up? And I was like, hey, man, I need to talk to Playa. Tell Playa to come down here, you know what I mean? Like, tell him to come over here. And so he goes, all right. And so he goes back. And then next, you know, Playa comes down, right? Playa's walking down the hallway, and he stops right there at my door, and he goes, what's up? And I said, and I'm like, oh, he's here, you know what I mean? Like, he's here. So I'm like, hey, Playa, man. Like, and I'm a little embarrassed, you know what I mean? But I tell him, I said, I mean, I need to talk to you. He's all like, about what? And he goes, I said, I need to talk to you about Jesus. And and everything at that time had led built up enough for me to be able to say that. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
just, and so, and man, I kid you not, right? So he opens up my little food slot that, you know, where they pan you the food, and he's kneeling down, and he starts talking to me about Proverbs chapter 1, man, because at the time gangs was like big for me. And so he's just talking to me about Proverbs chapter 1. And then he starts talking to me about, you know, his calling, you know, his life, and how he's involved with his church, and how everything in his heart wants him to, he always wanted to use being a correctional officer, even that as a platform, you know what I mean, to be able to reach out to people, you know what I mean, like in Christ. And so he was preaching to me about that. And then I asked him, I said, hey man, can you pray for me, you know? And so now I'm holding hands with this black correctional officer, like big black dude, you know what I mean? And he's kneeling down at my door in front of everybody, like all the other doors, they can see it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he starts praying for me, man. And as he's praying, he starts crying, like tears, man. And tears are falling from his face onto my hands.
Yeah.
And like, man, it was so moving is that, like, I know that I I can't cry. Like, I cannot bring myself to cry over things that I know are not true. Like, I know it's not true. I really can't become fake about it and put up emotions. So when he was crying over what he believes is true, that's a witness to me, man. And so man, I started just looking into everything, man. Like, what's the odds of this man writing these things and me doing this and me like not being able to jump off this name for some reason, and this and so, like, man, like that was enough for me, bro. That was like a fire just exploded in my heart, bro. And I believe that's when the Spirit like really just took its right place in my heart, man. And I put up a lot of effort to make sure that my garden was taken care of, man. And I wanted to start nurturing that spirit, and I did. And I experienced so much, like, so that's the beginning. That's like the beginning
Of your
of
salvation
my,
story, because he
yeah,
saved
my,
us, he's saving us, and he's gonna continue. Question though,
man,
I do have a couple questions. So,
yeah.
was that your first exposure to Jesus, or like when you were growing up,
No,
were your parents ever talking about Jesus? Tell me about that background a little bit, like your family, what they believe. Are they agnostic? Are they atheists? What are they?
okay. So my the family I grew up on my mother's side, and they are all Mormon. Like they are all Mormon. Like my older sister Vanessa, she was one to really get involved with the Mormon church when we were all kids, like elementary school, and like my whole mom side of the family, like really just kind of jumped into that. But my sister was like the only like one that stuck with it, and I I was such a little kid. Like they used to take me to church, to the Mormon church, and I just was a kid. I just had fun. I ran around. I was never able really to like care about it. You know what I mean? But yeah, that's where my family's at. And to this day, I think that pretty much everyone still claims that the Mormon beliefs, except for me and my stepfather. And then I think my brother is actually a believer now, but he's out there in Florida. But yeah, so there wasn't real much spiritual roots from my family. No, not much at all.
Okay, but you're exposed to God a little bit from your family, and then CY California Youth Authority, Daily
More
Bread.
I remember the very first like exposure to actual like to what I would say is more like to what I believe to this day would be like in juvenile hall. Like when I
Okay.
very first went to juvenile hall and got to like see volunteers like coming in singing and playing music for us like as kids in juvenile hall. That was like the first time that I really got exposed to like the New Testament and Christ as I believe him today. You know, that's like probably the first time. And I, like I said, I know that I was present in some of those meetings, but I wasn't there. I wasn't aware. You know, it
You were
didn't get
blind.
real until
Yeah.
that story I told you. It didn't get real. Like,
We
hold
we
on.
we blind until we see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was blinded for a very long time. I mean, I was exposed to Jesus early on, because if it wasn't for Christ, They wouldn't have the missionaries that went to Southeast Asia and brought a lot of the immigrants, well, not the refugees, to the U.S., right? So that
Yeah.
started the journey. But I was a kid, I didn't know. So that came here. We were we spent a couple years up in Lodi. We were
Yeah.
there for a
That's
couple years. Yeah, by
that's
Stockton.
where I was at. I was in Ione. That's where CYA was at. Is in Ione.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's not too
Wow.
far from there. Like
Okay.
Lodi, Stockton. Ione's like right, I think east of like Stockton.
I
But
think I've
go
seen
ahead.
it driving there somewhere. So from there we moved to Fresno, and we knew, and the guy that you're mentioning, see our guy, the name is similar. So my there we moved into, it was like in the hood in downtown, but this Christian Presbyterian family, Dr. Marty Martin and Joni Martin, I just give them props because instead of like for them going out there do missionary work, they was like, well, let's just do it in the inner city kids, right? So they bought
Yeah.
this like this apartment that used to be a house, and they renovated it and turned it back into a house and created like a basically like a youth center, like a missionary. So kids would go there, they'll play, they'll get exposed to the gospel, and from that point, I was exposed to Christ then, fully. And then from there, somehow the Lord, my best friend and I, the school selected us to go to YMCA camp, which is a Christian,
Yeah.
based organization. And that's when I actually, accepted Christ, but it wasn't baptized. It was just the word, and you get ragged. And that was my first, like, I guess, my foot in the door. But it was a long time. And from there to 17, I was going to Bible study, going to church. And then when I met my ex-wife, got married, boom, stopped going to church. And
Oh,
even that time, I didn't even know, like, like, you hear about God, and you're like, you go because you think it's the right thing to do, but you don't really understand the magnitude of what that relation is. You're just not aware of it. I guess you're still, the seed's planted, but it's not a season yet. And then
yeah. Has taken
fast
root.
yeah, it hadn't even taken root. There's no water, there's nothing. It's just the seed
Yeah.
is there, but it's been there since I was 12. And then it took till like when I was 33, I decided to go on this sabbatical. Maybe it was a midlife crisis, but I went on trying to look for something, and that led to all these events to finally, then I went to New Age and understanding. I thought that we were all gods, and this is consciousness and all this stuff. And now I'm understanding, like, honestly, I think it is one of the great lies is like the schemes of the devil's does. I mean, he's been around a long time. He's pretty smart, and he's the
Yeah.
father of lies. So he creates that illusion for us. And I was like, and I fell right into it. And then from there, I was led out to Slab City, which is it's up in the desert, like I forgot what it is, but it's a retired army base or military base that they don't they closed down. So a lot of squatters
Yeah.
went there, and
Yeah.
I wasn't even planning to go there. My partner Thunder, who actually was my Burning Man dad, he plays the character of, like, the Peter Pan narrative. He's Pan and I'm a Lost Boy. That's the that's how we rolled out. So you
Yeah.
have to understand, I was led out there by Pan, which is King of the Lost Boys. That's that I would say Satan motif. I was led there. I was in the desert for 40 days, dude. 40 days. I still, it was around Easter. Still no Jesus. Like I didn't, I mean, no Jesus. And then towards that last, like, that weekend, I have to admit, like, I don't know why, for some people, when I like, I'm not condoning drugs, but a lot of shamans, they take drugs to connect with that other realm, whether it be spirits or whatever. So for me, when I do drugs, I connect to God. And sometimes I don't want that because I'm just like, I'm too dirty, and it's like, no, this is too much, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I got high, and then that night, for some reason, when I took, I'll just admit it here to bring out to light, it was my first experience with meth, because I thought, I wanted to conquer my fears. This is something that I've always been afraid of. What's the big deal? So I tried it, and I don't condone it, but the way it affected my body was that it actually shut down my mind, to where that mind would stop talking, and I was actually able to hear God. So in a sense, it's almost like he allowed it to happen, so he could speak to me because I wasn't listening. And then all night long, I'm like walking with God, and it was around Easter, and I was just like going nuts. I was like, either A, I'm going crazy, or B, God is really trying to, get my attention, and all the way
Yeah.
here. And the best thing part was, the Christians, they're the one that I was, like I was, judging because they've got this car. They just been saved by the Lord, so they're all fire for Jesus, and they got Jesus streak all over their car, and
Yeah.
they're the one that saved me from the slabs. So then after that point, I still backslide, but that was the, I would say, the pivotal moment. It was like I was actually led out there. It was like that story about the 99. You left the 99 to go after
Yeah.
you.
That
I'm
one. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm one of the the prodigal sons. I mean, I'm not. I mean, it's just, I mean, I guess there's no shame in it because somebody's got to be the prodigal son, and I just happen to be that
Yep.
guy.
Why
And he
not
was,
you?
yeah, why not me? But the amazing stories that we're giving glory to God, that just think about it. I feel like I'm just one person, right, out of all many people, and He would invest all that just to go after me in the desert because He loves me that much, that
Yeah.
one prodigal son. And maybe, a lot of people don't need that. Maybe they just need, the daily bread, and just somebody to witness them, or they need a tap on the shoulder. But there's some people that are so stubborn, and I know some of those people. Like I
Yeah.
used to be one. It took me like almost 40 years old to get to this point where I really feel like I have an authentic relationship with God, and
Hey,
it's
real
it's it's
quick,
been,
man.
yeah.
I need
Sorry,
I
I'm
need to
running off.
I need to interrupt you because
Yeah,
I think that you said some things that I'm definitely like I'm right here with you, but I wanna like bring a little bit more clarification to that and
sure,
actually
sure.
okay, so like there's probably gonna be some people that hear this and are just completely like head blown, forget that, that's crazy. But I'm not worried about them. What I wanna speak about is like what you said about the actual drug use and like spirituality and like how we feel about it and how we think God feels about it and all these things and
Yeah,
like that's like a really big topic, man, that a lot of people are not speaking on. And I happen to be in I happen to actually sincerely believe, I'm talking about sincerely to believe that um that God allows, like, okay, first off, the saying that I ride with is that if it ends with God, then it begun with God. Like
right.
that's got to be a true statement for anything else that I say to make sense. Because if it ends with somebody praising God and being closer to God, which is the true measurement of progress in your life, is whether
Yeah,
you're getting closer to God or further away from God.
right.
If it ends up with you being closer to God, then it started with God and He made it happen. I
Yeah,
ain't gonna say no one else.
yeah,
Now, so when it comes to drug use, bro, like, all right, this is gonna be like, because I know this is public, man, and this is gonna be the first
yeah,
time I'm actually coming clean with this myself. Is that there's times, man, when I would smoke weed and like just really like in my heart, like kind of like feel so guilty, man, that this is what I'm doing. You know what I mean? Like I would beat myself up, because I was I would say not like I would beat myself because I felt like I needed it. You know what I mean? Like I wanted it so bad. Like I couldn't get it aside. Like even though I wanted to read the word or pray or something. So I would like I would beat myself up, smoke the weed, and then not get into the word. You know what I mean? Like because I would feel so convicted. But then something different happened, man. Like then something different happened. You know what? Like I realized um that God's not surprised, man. God's not surprised that, my flaws, my shortcomings, my weaknesses, He made them. He made my flaws, He made my or what I consider, I'm perfect in His eyes. In His eyes, I'm perfect just as I am with what I would consider flaws, shortcomings, or anything. But He He knows what I crave and what I want. And so what I'm getting to is that some people, like they might use a substance, whatever substance it is, because I've used multiple of them and I've had different experiences like spiritually with them all. But
right.
like the one thing is this, is that if this is like a crutch to some people, like some people feel like they can't function without weed or meth or coke or whatever their addiction is. And I would tell them this, don't beat yourself up. You know what I mean? God is not surprised. Like, you know, if like, and God has so many solutions if he should so desire to bring you out of that.
Right.
Because I really believe that God is so in control that like he could bring you right out of, he has a million different solutions that could solve your addiction problem and move you on out of that. But maybe it's necessary he keeps you in it. I know that would blow so many like people's like Christians' minds, like, oh no, God wouldn't do that. And this, but it's like this. In my experience, you can't limit God. Like you cannot limit God on what he can do or what he can't do or what he can use or what he can't use, because what all that really matters is that if it ends with you being closer to God, then it begun with God. And there's been, I mean, I can give you another example on why you shouldn't beat yourself up about certain substance abuses. And I'm speaking to a very specific corner of people that abuse substances. I'm talking about the people that are dependent on it, like they would pick their substance over food. You know what I mean? Like they would pick, you know, that their substance is in a complete disarray of balance in their life. Like this, like that's the people I'm talking about. The people that this substance is like taking over. You know what I mean? Not people who are not like just dabbling in it or socially used. I'm talking about people that are really like believers and they struggle in addiction.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up. You know, like if anything, just do not take Jesus out of the equation. You know what I mean? Like if you gotta smoke, if you gotta do whatever you gotta do, then so just so that your prayer life, your lifeline, your prayer life, your scripture reading stays alive, I would say this. I would say try to do what you do and imagine Jesus Christ sitting there right next to you. Imagine him right there. And if you could work, and if you could imagine Jesus right there and you could still do your thing, then do it. You know what I mean? And when it's time, Jesus will open up doors for your addiction to be alleviated from you. And when it's time, you know what I'm saying? But sometimes it might need, your addiction might open a door for you. It might introduce you to someone. It might bring someone to you, like it might bring you to a health state that you need to go to a doctor, and you find something else that, you know, if you never went to the doctor for that, you never would have known. You know what I mean? Like God works in so many different ways that just beyond our comprehension, man. Because I look back at it now, I look back at my experiences, and I'm just like, and I see exactly how certain things affected my faith. And even though at a certain point in time, I would have been like, oh, the devil's attacking me or this, that. No, sir, man, it was all God. Like God knew he knows how to use momentum in his purposes, and he knows how to bring light. And if you're familiar with your shepherd's voice, then it's clear to you. You know what I mean? Like if you're familiar with the shepherd's voice and you can see the fruits, because that's like two of the main things that Jesus said to look for is look at the fruit.
Look at the fruit.
You know, look at the fruit. You know, like a good tree produces good fruit. And that fruit, you know, he talks about the spirit, joy, peace, kindness, gentleness, self-control, those things. But you can only tap into that if you don't beat yourself up. If you don't beat yourself up about certain things you do, because as soon as you beat yourself up, that's when you'll stop praying, you'll stop this, you'll stop, and then you're just done. You're just done. And so no matter what you indulge yourself in, or man, what you do, all I implore you to do is do not put Jesus to the side. You know what I mean? Take him with you. Even if you got to go rob a bank, like take Jesus with you, because why not have the person who controls everything, who created everything, who can move hearts, who can control the storm? Why not have him with you? You know what I mean? Like anywhere you go, you know what I mean? Like he just might bring about some opportunity. I know I was a little extreme with that example, But I'm just
Yeah, no,
saying.
we get your point. Bring Jesus in, and I do in everything you do. I do want to clarify. I mean, and I appreciate you sharing your opinion, brother. And for me, I mean, when I was a kid, I didn't really even dabble in drugs just because I thought it was bad. It wasn't until like in my early 30s to late 30s that I experienced like this short period,
Yeah,
and I've done a lot of sorts of stuff. Mainly, my drug of choice before was been psychedelics, and it's there's always been moments where I feel closer to God. I mean, I remember this one time I was raving and I was on some type of party pill, mixed with MDMA, and I really felt like God, like I could feel God's presence, and I didn't like it because I feel like I was doing something bad, like I'm doing drugs, and I
yeah,
felt uncomfortable. It's just like imagine like if you're at a party doing something, and your dad's there watching, and your dad's not going to approve of your behavior. I
yeah,
felt that sometimes, and it just doesn't feel comfortable. But basically, what I want to wrap up to is again, when it comes to drug use, my thing is this: we all have our vices, and we all have our addiction that we're fighting through to escape or to heal or just find something. And with my journey is like I feel like God allowed these substances as tools, right? Because
as
and
tools. There we go.
tool, but once I realized that I don't need these tools anymore, he delivered me, and so now I don't even care. I don't have the desire to, and like I mean the thought's still there sometimes, but the desire is gone, and that's what's really major. It's been a big shift. It's like, okay, there's three reasons why I don't do it anymore. Number one, because I feel that God doesn't want me to do drugs, period, because
Yeah,
it fogs my mind and it lets the enemy attack it. And I do feel that when I'm when I mix, when I just feel that, right.
yeah,
I've been exposed to that, so then I know, okay, well, I love God, and I fear God more than the enemy, but the enemy is still pretty. He's a bad mother, and I don't want him in my head. If I could help, what I'm saying. If I could help that by just limiting my drug use, then I'm going to do that. Number one, to honor God. Number two, I don't want to deal with the enemy. Period.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And so, but it's allowed me to get to this point in my relationship. So I see it as a tool, but I don't have to go there anymore, and that's good
yeah,
for me. Like it's
yeah.
been a tool, but it's done. There's a few reasons for that. That's one. Number two, there's a saying. I don't know where it comes from. I don't know what wisdom school, but there's a saying that you don't go where you're not invited. And I feel like with my personal experience with psychedelics is you're basically going to a place you're not invited. And a lot of times you hear these talks in the places I've been to, it's basically you are going to a different dimension, a different realm, whatever you want to call it. In that space, you're not invited there. You're basically forcing your way there, and it's pretty cool. You're seeing stuff that you normally wouldn't see, but at the
Yeah.
same time, it's like, okay, were you invited here? No. Okay. Well, you're not supposed to be here, right? So it's almost like the way I see it is like, okay, don't go where you're not invited. You got that. So you're just being respectful to, whatever. And
Yeah.
and it says it in scripture, a lot of it is just like just be sober minded, if you can, because I know we're all fighting addiction. That's why I went to CR.
Yeah.
And but if you can be sober minded, I think that's what's going back to what you're saying is the goal is if you can be sober
Yeah.
minded, be sober
If
minded.
you can, that's
Yeah,
see, yeah, that's
right,
yeah, that like that's the
right,
number one objective. If you
right.
can be sober, be
Be
that.
sober
But
minded.
if you
Yeah,
can't,
yeah,
don't beat yourself up about it.
yeah, yeah.
Don't go, don't
Go to
because
CR, guys. Check it out.
yeah,
There's a local CR somewhere around you. And
love celebrate recovery. Oh man,
yeah, I
celebrate recovery.
I mean so many times where like I remember this one testimony night where it was almost like how they have sometimes you hear a testimony night, and they're saying, oh, if you're here, you're supposed to be here, no matter
Here,
what you
here.
think. Yeah, you're supposed to be here. That's
Yeah.
it. And then all of a sudden you get those moments where like everything is clicking. Like this person says something, it clicks. That
Yes.
person says click. What she's saying clicks. The story clicks, and you're like, wow, it does feel, that I'm supposed to be here to
I
hear
fit.
everything.
I
I
fit.
fit in,
Yeah.
right? So yeah, back to what you're saying. You had an incredible CR story you wanted to share.
Okay, okay. All right. So all right, so the just to keep along with the time frame, was 18 when all that like Daily Bread story with Marvin Williams, when that occurred, and I was in Seaway, and now this is about maybe 6 to 8 months after that. Like I get released. I get released from Seaway, but that's a big testimony right there. Those 6 to 8 months after the Daily Bread situation, like when I came to Christ. I mean, it was just full of miracle growth, man. I'm talking about just I stayed deep into the Word. I was like a holy roller, man. Like for real, like exiting Seaway, I was just on a good one, man, for God. And I got out of Seaway, and I landed in. I didn't have like a place to go. I was over 18 now, and so I ended up going to a halfway house in Clovis, over off of Nice, and I think it might have been Marion. It's like out towards like Garfield, Buchanan area.
Okay. I know what you're talking about.
So yeah, we're kind of like right where the suburbs turn into like ranch areas and stuff. And so there was this halfway house that I got sent to in the Horse area. And so I go to this halfway house, and my day I got released was February 19th of 2009. That's the day I got out. It was a Thursday. I set foot on freedom soil. And so I landed there, and I knew the very first thing I wanted to do was find a church like that. Like that was number one on my agenda, find a church immediately. You know what I mean? And so as soon as I was got settled in, threw all my stuff down, changed, I went walking. Like I went walking from the halfway house, and I kid you not, I made random turns. I was like, oh, here we go. I gotta make a left or right. I'm gonna just make a right. I'm gonna make a left. And I made random turns and walked on to the property of New Hope, over there on Nice and Marion. Right?
It's a God thing. Guess what?
Yeah, it's a God, right? I like, and no lie. I'm walking
Bro,
onto the property.
Guess what church I go to?
You go to that one? Oh, okay. Well, then you're gonna love this. You're gonna love this. You're gonna love this so much. So
it's a God thing.
February 19th, 2009. It was, I believe, the first CR meeting at New Hope Community at that church of and so I walk up, as I'm walking onto the parking lot driveway, the church all white, nice in the cuts. I'm walking onto it. I'm wearing sweats, chucks, and like a white t-shirt, and I have a cigarette. And as I'm walking up, there's another car that pulls in, and it's probably like 5 o'clock in the afternoon, getting close to nighttime. And this car is pulling in, and it happens to be the pastor. It was I forgot his name, man.
Tim Rowland.
Tim Rowland, yeah, it had to be Tim Rowland. And so I'm on fire for God, and I'm just like, I walk up to him, and like I come as I am. Like I said, cigarette, saying fresh out. And that church has to be big in prison ministry. I mean, and so he was all for it, like, oh man, tonight is our first night of celebrate recovery, here, that. And like I was, and so and they're like, we're about to have dinner, you know what I mean? Here, you could chill. I was early. So he goes, here, you can chill in this room. And then, so they start bringing the food in and stuff, start preparing dinner. And I started meeting a few people. And one of the people that has been like just a pillar in my faith has been Eric Olson. And at the time, like he was one of the leaders right there for the summer. Everything was just getting started. And so so I'm there and I'm getting involved. And I was in prison by May 15th that year. I was only out from Seaway for like 90 days. And but like I said, so I landed at the Celebrate Recovery. I was going fairly consistently every Thursday. I would meet up with Eric. I'll meet up with all the other the leaders and stuff. And I was involved right there at that church. And that was I go to that church. I'm very tight with Mark Downs. Like that's my buddy. But so yeah, that I'm very familiar with. I've been going back, like every time I got out of prison, I go back to that Celebrate Recovery. But now I go to I was recently going to a Celebrate Recovery down here at the Dream Center. But yeah, and I'm still tight with Eric. Eric is he's a runner, man. He got me into running, you know what I mean? Like he's been such a pillar through 2 prison terms. I mean, that church, I mean, I got so much support from that church. They were there at my sentencing. And even through all these things I went through, man, that Celebrate Recovery family at New Hope Community, I mean, it's just been, it's rocking, man. I love it. And so they've been one of the strongest pillars in my faith that's allowed me to just excel in what I'm doing. And so I give praise to God, man, for that. But that's crazy. You go to that one, man. That's
Yeah, I go
blows
to
my
that
mind.
church. I go to that CR. I think I even maybe now remember I've been going there for 2 years now. And just to
Really?
tell people out there listening, CR, Celebrate Recovery, it's a Christian-based ministry that it's for people that hurt, we say for hurts, habits, and hang-ups. So it's not just for drug and alcohol, but it's also for stuff like you don't even wear that you had, like codependency, anger, resentment, like stuff that that bad thing that somebody said to you 10 years ago, you're still holding
Wow.
on to, is for people like you. But I've been going there for the last 2 years. So I remember somebody that went there to visit, and I think it was you. Were you there in the last couple of
I've
years
been
one
there.
time?
I've been there a few times. I think
Now I
I
remember.
think
I think you were there. I didn't get
hey,
a
you
chance
know
to
what?
say hi to you, but I mean we exchanged some words, but we didn't get a chance to like connect.
Yeah, it might have been, man. It might have been. It really might have been. I've been there a few times, and you know what? For one time, like one part of the year, there'd be a lot of attendance, and another time there'd be like 5 people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I always end up going back. Anytime I'm in Fresno on a Thursday night, man, I'm there. So hey,
What a small
I
world.
know, like, hey, and you know what? And for me, it's so important. It's so important, man, for me to be able to go back and just share like what God's been doing, just so people know that God's still working in Justin's life, man. Like he's still right there. Like and I know it's important to encourage the people that have been like a foundation for me. And I constantly try to just offer myself. But yeah, man, that's
Yeah,
amazing.
they're
That's
gonna trip when I go back next week and tell them that yeah, I got Justice
oh, do
Sullivan on the podcast.
tell Bridget I said hello. You
Yeah,
know Bridget?
yeah, there's a friend of mine that we just like ride our bikes to, and
Yeah.
um well I don't know, we got to start I don't know, this is where it's like well, remember what they say, what you see here,
Oh yeah, here,
let me
here,
here.
yeah.
So
Well, what's it called? Send my
yes,
greetings. You know what I mean? I'll definitely,
yeah,
I'll
I
definitely do
yeah,
it.
it's one of those things where this is another thing we can just bring out. There's confidentiality, like a lot of the stuff that goes on there. We're like you just don't want to. I had that experience one time. Like I saw one of the members out in public, and it was like you didn't know what to do. You're like, well, I don't want to approach them and make them feel awkward. Because they're gonna have to explain how they know me. Yeah, but
uh,
like I don't, so just to be respectful. But I think Bridget would be okay for me saying hi to her. But yeah, a friend of mine and that was part of the group. We used to go out there, we ride our bikes, and we would visit her and just like hang out for a little bit. Yeah,
yeah,
but I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't seen her in a
is
while.
that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so what's amazing though is just that Subway recovery, man, has just been like that was the foundation of me even knowing about Subway recovery. And then since I've been down here in Southern California, I love the church that I go to. I haven't been to, well, because of the virus and everything, it's been shut down for a few months. But I normally attend the Dream Center, and oh man, oh my gosh, even that's just some crazy story. But they have a Subway recovery here, and this is the Dream Center happens to be just a church foundation that is so rooted in like prison, like helping people out of prison, like rehab, that like my flavor, it was cool over there in Clovis, but you know what I'm saying? Me coming with tattoos and like with this little flavor I got, I fit it so perfectly over here, man. Like with the like I speak the same language as everybody, like my peers, you know what I mean? And
Right.
so I've been tremendously blessed to be able to like even the little bit as it's been, man, just been able to like give a little bit back to my brothers, you know what I mean? Like
Right.
encourage them and stuff. But man, I'm telling you, hey,
Small world.
there's something that's amazing, right? Like there's something that's amazing. Is a real fire, a real like a real fire. There's three characteristics. One, like three characteristics that it has to have for it to be a real fire. That other things could have a few, but if you don't have them all, it's not real. Is one, it gives off light, like a real fire, right? It gives off light.
Right.
It illuminates the area. Number two is it gives off heat, right? It gives off heat. A real fire, you can't touch it without getting burned.
Yeah.
And number three is that it consumes everything it touches.
Oh wow.
It can,
Okay.
sorry, my battery's down to like 20%.
Okay.
But it consumes everything it touches. A real fire consumes everything it touches. And see, there's things like on the TV, a pyrotechnic display, it might give off light. It don't got heat. It's not spreading. You know what I mean? But a real fire has those three characteristics. And so that's like you can tell if what this person is doing or this cause or this movement, if it's a real fire, if it has the spirit, you know what I mean, which is the fire, if it has a spirit on it, man, it's gonna succeed. It's gonna either tear up anything in its way and consume it, or yeah, it's just gonna get burned down, man, or everything else is gonna run. But that real fire, man, has been like growing in my life. I see it, man. I like just on how now I'm so interested in like hearing everything about you, man, because like just seeing how the big loop, you know what I mean? Just the big loop. Like I think it's only a matter of time until I probably met you in one way or the other, because with Gary and them,
Yeah.
or with at church at CR, like man, it's
Yeah.
cool, man. It's amazing to just to see that fire clears thing. It clears the path. You know what I mean?
Right.
For new
Yeah.
growth. And so it's just a
I
good thing.
It is. I always wonder about stuff like that. Like I just have these random thoughts. When you meet somebody for the first time and you think, in this big city, have you met him before? Not necessarily met him before, but maybe you were in the same room or in the same elevator, same classroom, and you don't notice. But if you could see the big picture, like God could zoom out, right, and just look at everybody's story. It's like, yeah, you were over here, remember? Look, and you just zoom in, like, oh, whoa, we were at CR, already. And then you can zoom in again, like, oh, well, look, we were in the same like gas station like 10 years ago,
That would be
and
crazy,
and then
huh?
zoom in, and then like, and here's Gary's like, hey, I got a perfect person for you. And I'm like, okay, and I'm just like, yeah, it's God's amazing, man. It's his timing is
Nah,
perfect.
nah.
I was like fellowshipping with a gentleman last night, and 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 I was saying like I feel like I'm a late bloomer because it takes me a while to catch on this train, the Jesus train I call it. And just remember what you were saying about how that gentleman in CYA was praying for you and crying.
Yeah,
I had an emotional moment today. Like I was talking to, I don't want to mention her name, but someone
yeah,
very important to me that I love, that's very close to me, and because she just wants when I do the podcast to leave her out of it. But I can say that you're always trying to witness and ask them to come to church, and and I can sense there's like, there is some, I would say a rebellious spirit in a sense. It's like it doesn't make it sense other than that, and that spirit puts up the front because it doesn't want to be exposed to the light, and I get that, but you still, you try to push as much as you can because because it's like I was using the Titanic story. I used the first example I used was just terrible bad. It was brainless and thoughtless, and I want to apologize deeply. I'm not perfect, and I'm still trying, and I should have prayed before I talked to her. But I used the Titanic story. I'm like, well, just imagine if you were on the Titanic and you were one of the people that knew the ship was going to sink, but somebody you love didn't know, and they were not going to leave the ship. You would probably do everything you can to try to convince them to get off get on the life raft to get off the ship, right? And then
yeah,
she agreed. So at least we can understand and compromise, understand points where the reason why I'm doing is this is all this podcast is to reach out people that been like somebody like me that was a lost sheep, for 39 years of my life, just not even knowing that God exists and he cares and he loves you and he has a plan for you and he's always there and ready to receive you when you're ready to come home. So this is for those people out there, the lost sinners that don't even know that they're lost, right? It's like I
yeah.
didn't know I was lost, for the longest time. So for anybody listening, if you have any questions or you want to, talk to us, you can message us. I'm going to leave my email in the comments, and
Get at me too.
people on Facebook, you can message us, because we just want to get the gospel out there, the good news that Jesus lived, born, died, raised from the dead. He's our savior. He's awesome. And he's amazing. And I'm just getting to that, scratching the surface of that relationship, because they're talking about, you're talking about the fruits of the spirit, love, joy, peace, self-control. Like, I feel like I'm just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
So I want to get closer to him to experience the fruits, and so
Hey,
I want
here's
to share
something
that.
real quick. Here's some, because I'm trying to like piece together a little bit of what you're mentioning earlier, and it sounds like this is, I can understand this one thing. Ever since I started to even experience a little bit of the joy that God brought into my life, like really joy, like waking up happy, waking up excited, like waking up with like a zest for life. You know what I mean? Like when I first started to experience that and love it, because it was coming from the right sources. It wasn't coming from uh, ill obtained ways. It was coming from the Bible. It was coming from praying. It was coming from helping people. But this is like what what I learned is that God is very, very concerned with your production. Like he's very concerned with the quality of your work, like extremely concerned. Like, and it's detailed in the word when it talks about how, like he wants profit. You know what I mean? He gives you skills. He gives you talents. He wants profit from these things that he gives you. And he's giving you certain things which you can handle, just like the one that got one talent, one got three, another one got five.
Right.
And those who were profitable, who brought back profit, he gave them more. And, of course, just who they are, they're going to do more with more and less with less. But to be effective, like to really be effective in getting like in reaching somebody, like you have to, like, this is where I feel like a lot of people are their heart is in the right place, like definitely in the right place. Like they just want to give the joy that they have to someone else, but their strategy is a little off. And because the one thing that they're missing is I think that a lot of people are forgetting just to love that person, just to love them, like just to love them. And what I mean by that is some of the people that that I would call sheep in my fold, that I feel like I'm maybe like their spiritual mentor, or I could be someone that they could, ask questions or rely on. Like these people, I don't care what kind of goals they got. I don't care what they're doing in life. All I want to do is just support them, love them. Like if I know that their goal is to accomplish this, then I want to be a part of them accomplishing that goal. Here, let me be the back that you can step on so you can reach your goal. Because the very first thing that needs to be established to be an effective channel, I think, is there needs to be like trust. There needs to be some type of bond. They're like other people will look at you and will be like, well, this is someone I can actually talk to. And I think that the hardest part to be a quality like ambassador of God is, man, it's hard, man. You got to love the unlovable. You got to go into the places that a lot of people don't want to go. And you got to, and you know what? And you got to love it, man. Like you got to love it, because like it's hard, man. And some people are so they've been taught not to express gratitude. They've been taught not to do certain things, or they think this is that. And so it's hard to clash with people's pride, and it's hard to do these things or to feel like your time's wasted. But I promise you it's not. Like I promise you, but it only gets wasted if we start thinking about like force feeding it to people. Like I kid you not, man. I just try to be tight with people. I just try to love on people and help them out. However, like, dude, I'll just take pictures with people. You know what I mean? I'll go out there and take pictures. I'll just go out there and do whatever just to put a smile on someone's face. And maybe one day they might see me again, and that might be the time when they might hit me up about something, or, it's just I've tried to fulfill a need, try to fulfill a need in someone's life where they, if you could play a part where you impact someone so much where they say, man, thank God God sent Justin into my life, then you have an opportunity to minister to them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Once you've created that bond where they're like appreciative, oh man, they definitely that door's open, man, where you can start talking about Jesus and you can start talking this, and it will be like good wood to set on fire. You know what I mean? It'll be good
Right.
soil to plant that seed. And but yeah, and that's what it's been in my life, man. But I didn't mean to go so far with that, but
No,
yeah,
I, I
it's
I do
important.
appreciate what you said because it's true. Like I have a friend that, he what he's learned in his I guess parenting years is when he was when the kids were younger, he kind of did that. It was always more of the forceful approach in a sense. You just I guess like shotgunning the information, like you got to
Yo,
go to
word.
church, you got to go to church,
Yeah.
you got to go to church, and you could see the impact of what it's done to their relationship after so many years. And I want to learn from that example, but it's so easy to just trip up and follow in that footstep because you just do. It's almost natural. It's like, okay, I know I can't save them, but I know Jesus can. And if I can't even get him to church, you almost feel like a failure in a sense. But I like your approach to what you're saying is just love on them until they're ready and they give you an opportunity. And she's even mentioned that it's like,
Yep.
as I'm getting it, she's just not ready. Because it's
Yep.
like some people are, it's the whole idea that I remember when I was when the night I feel like I really got saved, right? That like, oh, he saved my butt twice. He saved my butt
Yeah.
twice. The first time was in the slab, but the second time was like on Father's Day. I'm out in Blythe, Ashland, laying on the ground, and he's just healing me like I wanted to die. But he was talking to me, and here's the deal, like I always had this prayer. I'm like, Lord, if you're real, why can't you just show yourself, and you hear people saying like, because he's so pure, if he revealed his light, he'd kill you, because you're so, and you're like, yeah, that makes sense, but what can he manifest in a different form, like and not kill me, so the stupid brain started analyzing why, right? And so I'm down here in the ground with my hoodie on, and I'm trying to first, I'm like, I feel like I'm not worthy to be here, so I don't want to see all the beauty that you have in this heavenly realm, like it's not for my eyes to see. And I'll
Yeah.
close my eyes, and then he'll still show me. And then it was a side where he was showing his light was so bright, like I got it. I'm like, oh snap, like I got it of his light, like it was so bright. I'm like, oh, I get it now. That's why you don't just reveal your light like that, because you're gonna kill me, you know. And but it took me, but I can understand where there's people like that, to where when you're trying to preach the gospel, it is the light of God, and if
They'll put
they've been
you
in
away, man.
darkness, if they've been in darkness for so long, it is painful. Just imagine, like, if you just woke up in the morning, right, and somebody
Open
shined a
your
bright
eyes.
light, right, not in jet, but they shine a bright flashlight in your eyes in the morning, right?
Ah.
It's probably gonna hurt, right? And you're probably not
Yeah.
gonna like it. And so I understand that. And so it's like, okay, so instead of like flashing the light in their eye, I like your approach, and thanks for sharing it. Just loving on them, and then giving
Hey,
opportunity to minister when it presents itself.
you think
I
about
pray.
it, man. A lot of people won't even begin to hear you until they know how much you care. You know what I mean? And that's what our job is to go the extra mile, to carry it the extra mile, to turn the cheek, to show that we care, so that they open up and they'll hear us. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
but we really gotta care. Like they like a lot of people are gonna be so tough to love, because they're gonna be tough to love because they need you to go extra, 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 extra far to win them over. And that's fine, because God supplies us with the gas, man.
Right.
He he,
He
he
does.
supplies us with the
He
gas.
provides everything. He
He
provides
provides everything.
everything.
He
I do
said,
want
he
to.
said,
I want to close in the next five
yeah,
minutes. And we can hang out a little bit after, if you have
all right,
time. But I
yeah,
do want to end on a high note, on how effective prayer is. If you want to share, I have something I want to share, but I want you to see it recently, if you prayed on something that God answered your prayers, and something recently,
man.
like basically a success, a prayer success, I guess, that you want to share.
Okay, yeah. I mean, you know what? Just man, I'm trying to think of something like real specific that I could kind of show. Um, you know, I know one thing, man, is that being able to do like a podcast like this, kind of be able to bring this social media out. I've actually, as a matter of fact, my friend Amparo, I know she's gonna see this. I'm gonna share it with her. I was asking her maybe like 6 to 7 months ago, hey, do you have somebody that could do like interviews and stuff like this? Because I really want to be able to get this background, this history out, you know what I mean? And like all that stuff, man. And so like prayer, I think, you know, if prayer is like action, you know what I mean? So I was actively seeking this, you know what I mean? And God knows what I'm doing. So I feel like in the right time, you know, he sent someone that can do this. And dude, I gotta learn how to do what you do, man. Cause I seen the video after the first one and I was like, oh man, we're gonna team up, man. We're gonna have to team up. We're gonna have to just do something together. Hey, like for real. Like for
We
real.
are teaming up. We're doing it, man. We're doing
Yeah.
it. We are teaming up.
Dude, I'm so happy, man. But you know what? Hey, I think this, man. I think the prayers that get answered, like I would say more to your favor. It's always any answer is to your favor from God, but like into something that you want to accomplish, man. It's all about getting up and doing something to put yourself in position. That's like the best prayer, man. Helping yourself to help God help you type of thing. You know what I mean? Like just get up and go show God that you want to get it. And man, I kid you not, bro. I feel guilty, man, on how blessed I am. I feel guilty on
that is a side effect of some Christians. I hear that.
Dude, I'm like, I don't deserve it, man. I just it's overwhelming, bro. His blessings are overwhelming, but
I believe you.
It all comes through the journey, which is amazing, man. Just
yeah.
Oh, no. But we're gonna get into it, bro. Hey,
yeah, we're gonna do. I just want to share one quick one, like this is where I really had a hard heart because I've been fighting a lot of physical ailments for the longest time, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, I'm worried about my finance, worried about my health. I'm worried about my, you know, my spiritual walk with God. And a couple nights ago, I just went in my closet and I just prayed. I'm just like, you know, just trying to figure out, okay, you know, like when Paul talks about the thorns in the flesh, and Jesus says that my grace is sufficient. When you're weak, you're strong. You know, my strength is. I forgot that I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And then he's like, well, then I'm gonna praise, you know, I'm gonna like, you know, thank my infirmities, basically, you know, like
Yeah, thank God I'm crippled right here.
yeah, I'm thanking God I'm crippled right now. And so I'm
weak,
like, well, you know, if that's true, it's like in a sense, like if you're sick, you know, God, you know, Christ's power is being strengthened. So it's like it's a double. It's like it's a positive. You just got to go through the struggle, but you know you're getting the gift. And so I had to really like wrestle with that and understand. I'm like, okay, well, you know, if I'm sick right now and I can't do anything about it, but the Lord is using this to shape me or maybe to correct my heart. And I've been reading. I told you I listened to Dr. McGee on Through the Bible Radio. Anybody check him out? Through the Bible Radio, Dr. McGee. And he had this one about anxiety, and he talks about prayer life. It ain't supposed to change the outside circumstances. Prayer life is supposed to change your heart. And I'm like, boom, blew my mind. I'm like, oh, it's supposed to change my heart. That's how I know I'm changing, you know. And so, but here's the thing. Then that happened. The next day, I'm worried about paying the tax man because I owe him money because I don't like to pay my taxes, so I just pay it and in. And then I'm worried about my money, and I'm just like, you know, what do I care? I'm just gonna give it to God. You know, I'm like, Lord, I'm just gonna give you the tax man. You figure it out. Next day, I get my stimulus check, and I'm just like, okay, that's convenient. Thank God. So now I'm just giving it back, but I'm just saying like he just took care of that. Like he just took care of the tax man just like that. You know, now I don't got to worry about that. And then my health in the last couple of days after one of my accountability partners prayed for me last night. Like today, I just felt better. And all of a sudden today, I woke up. Everything in my computer system's working fine. My calls are going good. I got this podcast with you, and I'm just like, you know, he does answer. He doesn't answer all the time, which you know we know because it's for our own good. But when he does, it's like, you know, we got to celebrate those little wins, man. You know, he's good.
You gotta ride that wave, man. I'm
being blessed.
Those little waves.
I'm being blessed with you. I'm being blessed with you know, with my job and just God's so good, man.
Heck yeah. Hey, that's what he does, man. That's he takes care of us, man, big time. And the more we acknowledge that it's him, the more that we know that, hey, God, I see you doing all this. you know, he's like, okay, well, you gonna see this coming? You ain't gonna see this coming? You know what I mean? Let me throw
Yeah.
some of this at you. You know, and it's just it's amazing. But yeah, it's all there.
All right.
Heck yeah.
We're gonna end with this, and then we can hang out a little bit after. I actually wanted to start, these podcasts in the future, praying in and praying out, like the
Yeah.
CRs, praying in and praying out. We didn't pray in the first time or the second time, but I like to pray us out, or I'll give you the honor to pray us out if you like, because I feel like you're probably
Sure.
your prayers are a little bit stronger than mine right now.
Oh
Uh,
no way,
I
no
know it's
way.
not. I'm just saying, but yeah, please pray us out. Please
It's
pray us
all
out.
messed up. All right, buddy. Father in heaven, Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to join together on this podcast and just reach out to whoever wants to listen, and whoever you attract and bring into the fold, Lord. We just ask that you could give them miracle grow, Father, in their spirit for you and their love for you. That you could use us as tools, Father. That we could be your hands, Father, out here in the world, just reaching out, blessing other people, Father, in action, um, and just continue to let our fire in our hearts burn hotter and hotter for other people, just to show love on them and just be there for them, Lord. And as you will, let us fight our struggles, Lord, and be strengthened and encouraged by the people that you send. And let us be thankful for the mercy, Father, that you have. And even when we don't see it, Father, you're just always being merciful and gracious to us and covering us always, Lord, and through everything. But we thank you, and we look forward to next time. And we just ask that until next time, Father, you just be with us and keep us safe and keep us hungry for your word, Lord. Thank you. Amen.
In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you. All
Always.
right. Let's see. Let's stop recording.